Hi, my name is Alyssa Pengra, and I'm here to present EDL853 Module 1 Personal Intro. So a little bit about me. I currently live in Overland Park, Kansas. I've been here for about 10 years now, and this is my 10th year as a school psychologist. I work in a large suburban school district in the Kansas City metro area, and I have two elementary schools that I work in. They're both K through 5. I've worked in middle schools before, but currently just have two elementary schools. So then, in addition to my traditional school psych role, I'm also on one of my buildings building leadership team, and then I'm also on the school psychologist district leadership team. I'm from Salina, Kansas. I went to Washburn University in Topeka for my undergraduate, where I got my bachelor's degree, and then moved a little further east to Lawrence, where I went to KU and got my EDS in school psychology. And then I'm currently, of course, like everyone else in the class, enrolled at Fort Hays, and I'm working on obtaining my school leadership endorsement licensure in order to transition into special education administration. Okay, a little bit more of the fun stuff. I have a daughter, Shay. She's an 8th grader this year. And we have a dog, Tegan, that we adopted about a year ago. So that's been a fun experience. She's actually a really great dog. Some passions, hobbies of mine, hot yoga. I really like that, but I haven't been able to do it for several months, so I've kind of had to do some other things to stay active. I love hiking. I am very into holistic wellness, so just kind of the whole body approach to wellness. So, mind, body, spirit, exercise, nutrition, mental health, kind of how it all connects together. Social sciences, spending time with family and friends, of course. I had to highlight my passion for the Green Bay Packers a little bit more in this presentation, considering the big game tomorrow. So that's a big pastime of mine. I like to travel, and then just recently running. And I have that emoji face because I'm still kind of surprised myself that I would even consider that a hobby. It's something I never thought I would do. I've never been a runner, but with the pandemic and things being closed down, I've had to kind of go back to basics with staying active and keeping moving. So I've tried running, and I've found that I actually can do it, and I can even do it in the winter when it's cold outside. So it's been a great learning experience for me. The pictures you see, the one with the beautiful alpine lake in it, that's from hiking this summer in Estes Park, Colorado, which I highly recommend if anyone is into that. And of course, my daughter and my dog, and then a picture of my daughter and I from this summer. And then, of course, that's a picture of me on a jog with my Packers gear ready to go. All right, so Module 1 was about inclusive school cultures and climates, and what we can do to develop and maintain that. So what is the school leader's role in maintaining an inclusive culture, and what do you do if it doesn't exist? And I think kind of the answer to that is similar, whether you're maintaining or if you're maybe trying to create, but I think it starts with administration. Administrators are responsible for the school climate. They set the tone, so I think modeling what you want how you want your staff and students to act is kind of number one thing that you have to do. But some additional things other than setting the tone yourself and modeling with your own behavior and language that you're using is provide ongoing training to staff. And I kind of listed a few things there, but certainly those are just kind of the tip of the iceberg. But I think it's really important, the idea of ongoing staff training and conversations, and not just assuming that once you've rolled it out and laid it all out there, that then you're good to go. Even if your staff didn't change from year to year, you can't just assume that all of these concepts are going to stay at the forefront of their mind. You have to keep revisiting that. And all the more important because your staff does change from year to year. So ongoing training, I think hiring staff that reflects the diversity of the students and making sure there's adequate academic support in your school. And I think that last one is maybe a little underrated thing that's important for inclusive school culture, but I think that when teachers feel like they don't have the academic support that they need for their students, then it's that much harder to be inclusive and to do that solid differentiation and all of those things when you don't feel like you have that support to be able to do it. So I think that's important. And then that little visual I think that for me is a really good representation of what an inclusive culture is, because, it's not just throwing everyone in a room together, and that's not true inclusion. True inclusion is about belonging and connectedness, and to me, that's what the puzzle pieces fitting together represents. What support can a school leader provide to encourage advocacy? This is something we talk about in my school district a lot, more along the lines of students and how we can get our students to be good self-advocates. But I think one way, as far as getting also the teachers to be advocates for students, is training staff to address issues they see and hear in the hallway. And I think this is a big one because, what we know is a lot of the negative things that happen aren't necessarily in the classroom during that highly structured time, but it's during those unstructured times, like passing periods and, just being in the hallway or recess or lunch. And so I think training staff to feel comfortable if they hear something that's inappropriate to stop in the hallways. And I think especially when it's not their student and they don't know who that student is, it can be a little even more uncomfortable to kind of stop and take control of that situation and intervene in a way that is helpful. So I think ongoing staff training about that is really important. Encouraging a respectful class climate, learning about every kid and allowing what you learn about that child to then contribute to the respect and understanding you would have for that child. I think that you want to have high expectations and support student leadership. And I think doing all of these things makes staff better advocates for their kids and students and what they need, and I think can help students be advocates for themselves. What plans and strategies can be implemented to ensure equitable treatment of students and or staff in an inclusive culture? And I think just a few things there, making sure that everyone is made to feel welcome. I think regularly discussing the need for an inclusive school culture at faculty meetings. Again, have that something that you revisit from time to time, not just a one-time thing at the beginning of the school year. Using inclusive language for all races, gender, sexual orientation, and preventing others from talking about those groups in a derogatory way. I think you want to have diverse literature in the classroom for class projects and also kind of available more widely in the school library. Adopt character education words like respect, acceptance, and honesty. In one of the articles we referenced, it talked about not talking about tolerance as a word, because people don't want to be tolerated, they want to be accepted and to belong. So more to focus on those words rather than tolerance. And then sending staff both research-based articles as well as opinion pieces about inclusive school cultures. And kind of each of those can bring something different to the table and spark different conversations that would be important to, again, maintaining or creating that inclusive school culture. And then what steps can a school leader take to change negative assumptions that affect teaching and learning in an inclusive culture? And I think one is, first of all, kind of getting on the same page about what is inclusion referring to. And, inclusion assumes that living and learning together benefits everyone, not just the person that has the disability or the disadvantage, but that diversity enriches us all, and really believing that. Also believing that each student can and will learn and succeed, and that each student has strengths and needs, no matter how good they are at something or how much they're struggling in something. Every student has strengths and every student has needs. And then I think focusing on what a student can do. It's very easy to kind of hyper-focus on what a student can't do, but focusing on what they can do and what's the next step, and not worrying, if they are behind where you want them to be, just focusing on what's that next step that I want them to accomplish. And then realizing that students at risk can overcome the risk for failure through involvement in a thoughtful and caring community of learners. So I think just understanding that the power of one person to make a difference in someone's life, and knowing that that person can be you. Understanding and believing that each student has a unique contribution to offer to other learners. And then I think a big part of successful inclusion is planning. So planning ahead of time for how everyone is going to participate and achieve something. So creating an environment for students where barriers are minimized and learning supports and flexibility are built into the environment at the outset. So you're not halfway through and then trying to figure out, how am I going to make this accessible to everyone, but rather planning in advance how it's going to happen. And I think that is a huge key to really being consistently inclusive and really having that become a culture in the classroom, in the school at large. Okay, so that is my presentation for the first module, and thank you for listening.